question for you. So there's quite a good newsletter writer in the marketplace, no names basis, but one of the better ones. He seems to say that Indonesia's got this covered. Nickel is covered till 2025, so everything's A-OK. Yep. Do you agree?
I agree with some of his underlying things, but I don't think I necessarily agree with the conclusion. He was writing in response to Elon, and Elon said we need more now. Express concerns with again environmentally friendly, environmental sensitive, and huge volumes, and you'll get a big contract. This analyst comment back where look at we see pretty strong supply growth out of Indonesia, which I do not disagree with. The kind of numbers that he was talking about are exactly in line with the kind of forecasts that are there. Again, I think there's a question mark around whether the pressure acid leach production will show up, and I share that same question mark. It was supposed to already be in production by now, and a bunch of the projects have already been delayed by several years. So we'll see whether they get there. That pressure acid leach has been troublesome for everybody around the world. So if they don't have any trouble, that will actually be a surprise. But yeah, no, you've seen this. They've got a pretty big increase in supply growth. But the fundamental issue, is he has better and more aggressive demand forecast than a lot of analysts. But as I've said before, a lot of analysts have a tough time putting a number that's too far from sort of 2% sort of trend demand growth, because they never want to be quote too wrong. And the trouble with a metal like nickel is it's a very high growth. It grows at 5% versus 2%. And then because it's very volatile, it not only does it grow on average 5%, but there's years where it grows 8 to 10%. There's years it grows 0 to -2, which obviously we've been going through right now. But when it rebounds, it has always rebounded with pretty sizable year-over-year growth. And so again, on a sort of peak-to-peak basis, you end up with this 4 to 5% trend demand growth. And I think this is to the Elons and to all the other EV supply chain people, the auto people, because again, there's been concerns expressed about nickel and cobalt and other metals from time to time. It would do if you want material from the mining companies, please provide some clarity in what your medium and long-term outlooks really are. I've had discussions with a number of these companies, and they have some pretty spectacular demand forecasts going forward, which are much higher than a lot of analysts have in terms of how quickly and how much metal they're going to need. And so if you don't provide that to the market, and then the analysts will use that into their demand forecasts, if you're not going to get the metal you need, because the analysts aren't going to have the demand growth that's there, and they're going to say, oh, we're going to be balanced or surplus for many, many years. So, this is a call out. If there's anybody listening on this, please provide more long-term clarity. Again, don't have to be your individual forecast. Just talk about it as an industry, so you're not giving away any industrial secrets. But please provide some clarity in terms of 2025 and 2030, what your range of production is going to be, and then the mining industry will have a chance of actually delivering that metal for you.
That is smart. That is smart. I can see why, as you're also CEO of a nickel company, I can see why not just nickel, but cobalt, lithium, and all the other parts that go into this EV thematic that we've been talking about, would be more easily able to raise money off the back of that. Right now, you've got long lead times. You're having difficulty the industry is having difficulty raising capital to get into advancing projects. So your feeling, from what I'm hearing, is the analysts don't have the data to be able to make informed or do informed report writing, and as a consequence, bankers aren't able to use that information to be able to say, well, this is a sensible use of our capital. What's the likelihood of a automotive CEO revealing what they're going to need in the short to medium term?
Oh, there's no chance that they're going to reveal their individual forecasts.
Right.
But I think if they can talk about, sort of their view collectively in terms of, really sort of, at least some range of where, electric vehicle demand is headed. And again, it would be, I think, very, very helpful, on that front. For sure.
Okay, so let's come back to some numbers then, if we may, because we kind of were talking about Indonesia and went over to talk to the automotive manufacturers. Coming back to Indonesia, so what is coming out of Indonesia at the moment? Because this analyst that we're talking about referring to talked about 2025, but it's what's happening in 2020 or 2030, for instance.
Yeah. So yeah, the update was really focused on out that next 5 years. So, you've got production growing by, sort of 800,000 or 900,000 tons, which again is sort of, in line there. It's going to be offset by, 200,000 or 300,000 ton in reduction in production from nickel pig iron in China, because they don't have the ore. That ore is being processed in Indonesia rather than being shipped to China. Yeah. And beyond that, I mean, again, I think everybody, including him, it's a bit of it's an open question in terms of, okay, if EV demand comes in close to where it's going to be, we won't have enough, and we'll have to look at, and again, as I always said, lithium iron phosphate is going to be a big part of the market. It has to be. There's a market niche that makes sense for that. And again, Elon in his call talked about that there's really in his mind, there's two streams. There's a lithium iron phosphate stream and a nickel cobalt stream that will continue to advance in terms of the capabilities of that battery to deliver range. And so, yeah, no, that's again, I think the other analysts who do cover it sort of make those long range forecasts. Again, they have very low demand forecasts for stainless steel, which are much lower than trend. And so again, those analysts don't necessarily have, the kind of, overall demand growth that, again, not only doesn't approach the 4 to 5%, including EVs, it even falls short of that 4 to 5% trend demand growth, which is very frustrating from my perspective.